family. I hope you guys are having a fantastic summer because I know that I am. Just recently got back from Jamaica, spent some quiet time with my husband and my two sons, and had a fantastic time. My family means more to me than silver and gold. Okay. Um, it's definitely important that we lean on each other during these trying times because every day we wake up and it is definitely something new to maneuver through. Um,
Exactly.
it's heavy. It's hot in
Right.
these streets. It's hot. The streets hot. Okay. But anyway, welcome, welcome, welcome. Um, as you guys are aware, my name is Carla, and I'm the host and the founder of the podcast entitled "I'm My Sister's Keeper." This evening, we're going to be discussing, and I'm sorry if you guys hear papers rattling, like I literally just parked my car and ran in the house. This evening, we're going to be discussing, yeah, stuck in traffic. This evening, we're going to be discussing things that your mama didn't tell you. I'll be kicking the conversation off, but just hold on, hold on. We have the one and only Empress Liz here looking very tropical, okay, in the building. So we appreciate you, Empress, for taking time out of your evening because I know that you're booked and busy, busy like a bumblebee. So thank you so much for showing up.
Yes, and thank you as always for having me. And again, thank you to the I'm My Sister's Keeper podcast viewers. I salute you all with the honorable words of grace, peace, mercy, truth, and love. May they all be multiplied upon you all, especially in these trying times. It's a joy to be here. It's an honor to make time to be here because there are conversations that need to be had. And I'm glad to be, as I say, and as some people also say, I'm glad to be a part of the change that I would like to see.
Yeah,
So,
definitely.
kudos to you, my sister, for providing a platform. And I know it was primarily for women, but I do understand that over the several podcast episodes that we have done, there are gentlemen that do tune in as well. So I
Yes, I
salute you
do.
all.
A
And
lot of my listeners are actually men. I actually have
yep,
more men that tune in than women. So we
well,
thank you, gentlemen.
yes, definitely thank you. And that may be the type of men that are trying to gain better insight into women as a whole, or to understand their companion, if you will. So kudos to you that you would tune in, and like I said, just tune into a platform that provides very necessary dialogue.
Absolutely. So I'm going to kick it off, and I'm going to start off by saying, okay, because I had to really think about this. My mom didn't tell me how important it was for me to just be me. Okay, so let me just elaborate. I know that when you're growing up, you want to fit in because that's just a part of being a young adult. You don't want to feel like an outcast. You don't
Right.
want to be teased and bullied because that's horrific. Okay.
Yeah.
So I completely understand why my mother wanted me to be comfortable with others, which means being a young girl, everyone's hairstyle is the same, everyone's wearing the same jeans and nail polish and carrying the same little pocketbooks. I get it. But it wasn't until I started to get older that I became really comfortable with myself. I don't necessarily have to look like anyone else. I
Right.
am, I am okay being me. I don't want to dress like anyone else. Uh,
Right.
I don't want to be a duplicate of someone else.
Right.
I was put on this earth for a purpose, and that is my purpose, and there's no other person that can serve that purpose like me. So I'm just
Yeah.
going to follow through. However, the big homie, which is God, I call him big
Right.
homie. However, God uh, leads me, wherever he leads me, then I will follow like a humble servant. Okay.
And
Even if
that's
I have my toes are pink and my nails are orange. Okay. Just wanted to
and
put that out there.
and mine are ice gold and green,
All
not
right.
rainbow, not rainbow. Everybody, and
All
not
right. All right. All right. So
I want to kind of segue off that a little bit
yes, go
because
right
my
ahead because
mom,
I'm going to start to pull the content that I
yeah.
received. So you
Now,
go right
this is
ahead.
really crazy that we're talking about that particular topic about being oneself because my mother, right, as conservative and Caribbean and that whole when I encompass that, kind of where I'm going with that. There's a Queen's English vibration. There's
Oh
a
yeah,
way that you
your
operate
mother's very conservative.
inside,
That
right?
she
Or
is.
I think my grandmother at some point thought she might have been in some incarnation. Okay, let me leave her alone for I
Right.
get visitation in my dreams. Anyway, she would always say, my mother would always say stuff like, you don't want to see yourself coming and going, and that pretty is as pretty does.
Oh
Now, even
God,
though
yeah, 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 yeah,
sometimes people say
yeah.
that in a way where they're trying to encourage this, like, very prissy, if you will, so-called ladylike behavior.
Yeah,
I think it was more to the effect, the way I received it at least, is that develop your character.
yeah,
So yeah, develop your character, learn as much as you can learn because you may be the unpopular, not so,
yeah,
fashionable one or whatever, but at some point, you will be honored for, your character more so. So I think for me, while I was raised in a the type of home that was, yes, be mindful how you behave yourself, da da da, whatever,
yeah.
whatever. Don't, kind of in that respect of it,
Yes,
there was
ma'am. No,
still
sir. Type deal. Right.
exactly
Right.
knowing your lane, but
Yeah.
there was always a sense of develop your individuality. So I really honor my mother for that because, like I said, she is a very, I want to say, kind of conservative.
Very
Uh,
conservative.
yeah, super conservative. Religious person to a degree. She's not judgmental, which was always the bomb growing up because she was never, and she subscribes, she's a Jehovah's Witness. I'm just gonna put it out there. It's not like somebody gonna sue me over saying that. She's a Jehovah's Witness. So growing up, a lot of the and look, I can speak from a place. So I'm gonna speak from a place. I'm gonna be respectful, but
Yeah.
most people that have subscribed to that doctrine understand that it's very insular in the sense where most of the people don't encourage the kids to be with non-Jehovah Witness children.
Right.
Um, not so much on like other religious practice, but specifically the way that operates. And she never, like most of my friends, and most of my lifelong friends, didn't even go to the Kingdom Hall. So she never prevented me from really being myself. I mean, she never really prevented that. She always encouraged this same individual who pretty much marches to her own beat. I yeah, I was kind of yeah, that was kind of encouraged, even if she couldn't, like give a playbook for it. It was still to me encouraged. I don't know. My siblings may have a different
You.
story to tell because they're older than me. So I was the youngest. Sometimes the conversation is, yeah, by the time she got to you,
Yeah.
you
She
got
was
away with
tired. She
everything.
was tired.
Yeah, but it was like, what did I get away with? Because I just went to school, did what I needed to do. But I don't know. Like I said, I think also just to kind of piggyback on what you said about not necessarily being encouraged to be comfortable in your own skin, so to speak, or like who you are to be. A lot of that also comes with relationships and how, we're kind of programmed to want a certain thing,
Hmm.
but nobody ever talks about us like, it's so, and Tracy Ellis kind of talked about this a little bit. She said that it was almost like we're kind of conditioned to be chosen, if that makes sense. And she said that she's the chooser. And I agree with that sentiment
Yeah.
because it's almost like, yeah, I'm gonna leave that one there. Let's move on because I think I
Um,
could be in that space for a minute. So
all right. Well, let me just put this out here also because if my mother sees this, I don't know if she's going to feel some type of way. And then for the next 22 days, she's going to call me crying. Ma, yeah, 'cause she'll call me crying. She'll call me in the morning. She'll call me in the
that's right.
afternoon. And she'll call me at night. And she'll be crying.
Right.
Mom,
Look, Shirley,
it is not anything wrong with wanting your child to fit in. I get it.
right.
I was just making a statement. Let me just clear this up right now because
Yeah,
I already
right.
know that if my
Right.
aunts get a whiff of this, my mother's gonna get a whiff of this, and I'm gonna have
Right.
phone calls. Okay, so
Well,
let me
and
just
and
put
I
that
get what
there.
they're saying too, because I mean, I felt like I had a certain measure of that type of conditioning, if you will, or programming or raising, if you will. Because the way it, and it's not so much, it's more so our fear of you navigating this world being who you are. I think that's kind of where that comes in. And it, like you said, it's not so
And
much
having
that,
so many judgmental people who
yeah,
will
or being
point
a
out how
subject of
you
bullying.
look different
Yeah,
from them.
right.
Mhm.
Well, I mean, or being a
Yeah.
subject of bullies. I mean, I can
Right.
remember, like we were just
Right.
talking about my oldest, my children, most of you that do know me, my children uh, had dreadlocks going to school. And this is the early 90s. So, in Jersey City, this is not Brooklyn somewhere. This was Jersey City public schools. And, I had to write notes to the teachers to make sure that they were not drinking, as they would refer to it, cow milk, just because that wasn't part of our diet. So, my daughter talks about how she couldn't wait till she was 16 to cut her locks because people used to crack on her, because her hair was locked. And it wasn't like I didn't keep it nice. Now, I didn't twist her hair, but my children's, their hair was long, and I would, put bubbles or whatever in it. But she talked about that part of her childhood. And so you get to a place where you hope that, like you said, that they fit in, not for the purposes of denying who they
Right.
are as people, but just to kind of take the edge off of it, just to kind of
Right.
have them have a circus. Really and truly, we were just talking about that, and I said, it's so funny because the dudes that may have been calling her, like she said some of the guys used to call her Little Wayne.
Oh
And
God.
like, but that's kids. And I mean, I got called names and stuff like that. But I think for me, the way that I handled, I guess you could call it bullying, I really didn't pay it no attention because I was so ready to just
What
be
is?
out of class so I could go
Yeah.
home and read a book about some real world stuff, that I
Right.
wasn't beat about anybody cracking on my clothes that my mother made, by the way, because my mother made all of our clothes.
Yeah.
Like
My
when I
mother
was
sewed too. That's why I sew so
my
well.
mother
My mother
to
used to
make us
sew.
some bag. Look, I never felt like they were homemade clothes. It was, again, an opportunity for me to just express myself. And yeah, it may not have looked like what everybody else had on, but because at that time we didn't have uniforms. But she encouraged me to look, and anybody, like I said, that know me, y'all know how
Do
I.
Do you remember the fabulous green maternity coat I made for you? That was 26 years ago. Do you remember that?
Yes.
Do you remember that? And I
Girl,
don't. When you said so, I we haven't talked about that coat in 26
years.
years.
Oh
But I
my God.
sat one weekend and I read a book, and maybe it was Terry McMillan's book. I
Wait a
stayed in the
minute.
house. I don't remember. It was so long ago. I stayed in the house.
Girl, we
I
used to do
drank
a lot
hot
of going
chocolate
back in those
and I
days.
ate
We
waffles
did.
all weekend. I remember that.
Hmm.
And when you came over, maybe it was a Sunday evening, I
More
had,
like,
and you didn't even know that I was making the coat. And by
yeah.
the way, that fabric was fabulous. Okay, that
That
wool,
fact
it was
always made
green
fact.
wool.
So,
My gosh,
super fabulous.
I don't know what made me think about that. But anyway, okay. Stick to the script. Stick to the script. Okay.
Yeah.
So anyway, I got tons of correspondence from folks who wanted to share, and so I am getting ready to share. There's a Carolyn from London, England. Hey, Carolyn, who
Okay.
said her mother never told her that when both of her parents passed away, her life would never be the same. That's deep.
That's a deep one.
Yeah, that's deep.
And it's, that's a deep one. And I just
Yeah.
kind of wanted it brought to
Mhm.
mind a conversation that I had with a very, very dear friend of mine recently about, he was talking about preparing his children for his death. Now, thankfully, this man is not like, he doesn't have a chronic illness. I think what had happened was is that one of his dear friends, somehow somebody close to him, got a very serious diagnosis and had to explain it to their children. So he took that opportunity to really have a candid conversation with his children. They're young adults, they're not little kids.
Yep.
Um, they are young adults, but about his death.
Hmm.
And those are conversations that we find very difficult, obviously, to have. But I don't know. I just I never, and it's funny because I still have my mother. She's going to be 88 in September, but that's a deep. I don't know. I kind of think that we always talk about that one though, like losing parents,
We
and
talk about it, but actually losing a parent
it's
on
not
a
easy.
whole other level, because
It
you
is.
know how
It,
much I love my father. You know
yeah, me.
how much I love my daddy. God
Yeah,
bless
me
his
too.
soul. And
Yeah.
if I, if someone said to me, "What would you give up in your life to spend a weekend with your father?" They could come in here and take all of my shit. You hear me? Everything, everything. I would give it all away. Cars, everything to
I
be able
I
to
I
spend the
know.
weekend with my father
I
again.
know.
So I don't know how you deal with it. I don't know how
There's
you
no.
manage it. I can't even speak on it because it was years. It was years. I remember it was years before I could even talk about it. So
Right. And it's funny because I just posted something about that. You know how on Facebook specifically they'll say like who's like your guardian angel, those little
yep,
testy little
yeah, yeah, yeah.
trick things. And the one, it said who is your rope tied to or something, and it said my dad. And it said, certain things that I felt resonated, based on our relationship. And I posted that and I said, that is so absolutely true. And I said, and the sad thing is that time doesn't heal it. It kind of dulls the pain a little bit. It's going to be 19 years next month.
Really?
That
Wow.
19 years that my father's gone. And when I tell you, it seems, some days it seems like yesterday. Some days it seems like a week ago. Some days I wrap myself around the fact that my youngest son does not even know my dad. He was born 5 months after my father transitioned, and I even said that a dear friend of mine recently lost her father, and I said, "This, I really wish I could tell you that it's going to get easier. It
Yeah,
just, really
you can't
truly
even
have
talk about it.
right,
Yeah,
and you have to cherish. I
yeah,
cherish the fond memories. And if I feel like I'm going to cry, I start thinking about those times that will
yeah.
turn into laughter because it's just a void that can never, ever really be uh, filled. So,
It's deep, Carolyn. We completely understand.
completely.
The statement that you made resonates with not only us, but everyone
Lots.
that has lost a parent. So we completely understand, and we send you our love. Um,
Yes.
we have a Tracy from Jamaica. Big up to Jamaica, West
Yeah,
Indies. Yeah, man. Her Tracy said her mom never told her that if she didn't love herself, she couldn't love anyone else.
I didn't get that one either in terms of it being verbalized that
Mhm.
way. But
Yeah,
I don't know. It's kind of, I think for me, the lesson was keep a little bit of your, keep a little bit to yourself, and kind of monitor that way. But
right.
you never do that. And I think that we can always beat ourselves up about that. We can always beat ourselves up about getting into relationships that may not have worked or whatever. And it's just really cool now that I think that people are more cognizant of, as I always say, claiming your calm in the chaos. And because we are more deliberate about those things and deliberate about self care,
Yep,
people are starting to turn that vibration around. That it becomes, that they really focus on that love of self and trying to heal soul wounds from the past so that they can be better people and love better.
absolutely. Patricia. Hi, Patricia. Patricia's from Canada. And she said her mom never told her that when you reach the age of 50, bullshit and nonsense is not an option.
Yeah, I got that one at 22, but
We hear you, Patricia. We hear you, girl. We hear
yeah,
you.
early.
We
Mhm.
have a Cindy from Delaware. Hi, Cindy. Cindy said her mom never told her that when she fell out of love, never told her that if she fell out of love with her husband, she would be forced to stay because she couldn't afford to make it on her own. That's what Cindy just said. Or said.
And that's probably, Cindy, because really that is not true. If you are not in love with your husband and you don't feel that there's any way, and I'm speaking from a place of being married, I'm speaking from a place of um, financial
Experience.
challenges in that, right, experience. But I'm trying to, being married, kind of being in a bit of financial distress, if you want to put it that way, and the love coming out or the challenges coming in to challenge the love of the marriage. And if you don't feel, because see, I feel like I tried to fight in terms of trying to at least come to some, try to heal the situation, is basically what I'm saying. If you don't feel that that is something that is worth trying to rekindle, because I think, and I'll segue back into that, I think sometimes we become complacent in relationships and expect them to just stay hot like the honeymoon. And we change and we grow and we like different things and we learn to like different things. And I think that we need to make conscious efforts to keep marriages new and be deliberate in that. But back to what you were saying, if you feel like you're stuck, you're never stuck. We always have a choice.
Yeah.
We always have a choice.
And Cindy, if you need to speak to someone, can put in the details to our conversation this evening, phone number where you can reach out to Dr. Nina Ruffin or someone
Yes,
from her
the
team.
roughing. That's your lane, sis.
Right, Dr. Nina Ruffin, or someone from her team that will
Right.
be able to
To help
provide
unpack
you with the necessary tools you need to move forward. So don't worry, Cindy, we got you.
the
Uh,
city.
yeah, that's tough. Sandra from Kansas City. Hi, Sandra. Sandra said, "My mom never told me that no matter what I face in life, tomorrow is always a new day."
That's tough
Interesting.
too.
Yep.
Hmm.
Yep. Um, I'm not going to touch this one. I'm not going to touch the statement from Texas right now. I'm not going to go there. I'll save it for last.
Okay.
Faith from Kansas City said that her mom never spoke to her about saving and investing. However, she's made it a point to ensure her daughter is on point. We
That
hear
is
you, Faith.
excellent. I didn't
Yeah,
get that one either.
we hear you, Faith.
I didn't get that one.
We then have a Tony from California, and Tony said that her mom never told her that it wasn't okay for her uncles to molest her as a preteen. Ooh, but with the guidance of with the guidance of a mentor prayer and the will to survive, she made it out on the other side.
That is intense. And I
Uh,
mean, I know dealing with like, I want to say not in depth, um, like in an in depth paragraph on that. But I mean, I'm speechless because I mean, I would have hoped
yeah.
that you could have gone to a teacher or something. Wow. I have to tell you, I commend you. And yes, prayer changes things. Um, Prayer, meditation, and therapy. That is intense.
Tony,
and I
you can also
sympathize.
speak to, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off,
Yeah.
sis. Tony, you can
No,
also speak to Nina Ruffin. Once again, I'll leave her information. If she's not available, she definitely has a team because Nina has more than one office now. So she has a
great.
group of folks that will be able to speak to you if you desire. So don't worry, I'll make
Yeah.
sure that
Okay.
I list that information as well. Thank you for
Definitely.
sharing. Thank you for sharing.
Yeah.
Chantel, I don't know where Chantel is from. Her mom never told her not to get involved with married men and that she would learn the hard way. Hmm. Yeah, that's interesting.
That is.
Yeah.
That's difficult too. I think that, sometimes like in relationships, um, because we don't know what conversation was given to her
Hmm.
from the person who was betraying their marriage.
Yeah.
Not to justify it, but those are very sensitive.
Yes, it's real
Those
deep.
are the only things that you think are common sense, kind of.
You know what? When you're talking about topics like that, there's so many different factors.
Exactly.
There's so many different factors.
Right. Well, that's why I said that, because because at the end of the day, the betrayer of that covenant is the person that should be held accountable.
Absolutely,
Person,
absolutely. And
person,
this person is a
um,
third party person involved in the madness. And so, Chantel, I'll leave
if you are
information.
if you are aware of the madness, then you need to extricate yourself
Yeah,
from it.
that's pretty deep. Yeah,
But
that's
again, I mean, I've known of situations where that was not mentioned up front, and people found themselves kind of connecting with people that they didn't realize were married. So I mean,
right.
I've seen
Right.
it,
We don't
but
have all the details, and we
no,
know how that goes. Uh,
yes, indeed.
Bobby Ann, we don't know where she's from, but Bobby Ann said her mom never told her that she was brilliant, beautiful, and bold, and because of that, she led a life of addiction for many years. But
Hmm.
now the sun shines on her side of the street as well.
That's great. That's great to hear. And sometimes as a parent, it's let's just face it. Some parents just don't know how to be encouragers. We you got to
Yeah.
remember, a lot of us are um, kind of not. I don't want to say obsessed, but consumed maybe is a better word, with caring for our kids. So sometimes that may not be their approach to parenting. I say that because, again, I'm speaking from a place of translucency, transparency,
Hmm.
and experience. My children, who are now adults, have said to me many. Now, Carla, you witnessed the whole thing from before number one, but you always worked. You always worked. You always worked. You were always working. Now, in my mind, during that process, my whole, of course, I was consumed with providing for my family, right? Now, that does not mean, at least in my mind, I know that I felt like I was pouring into them and being encouraging of them. But as a child, they receive things differently. And that's what I
Yeah.
learned as a parent. Now that my children are at an age where they can say, I really, when I was 11, and blah blah whatever, or I wanted those sneakers because I wanted to do, or whatever the case was, and as a parent, it's sometimes hard to hear those hard conversations. But again, we got to remember that we're dealing with, children, oftentimes very busy households. And again, this is not to justify why your parent may not have called
Hmm.
you brilliant and affirmed
Or
all
beautiful.
these great qualities in you. It may not, I hate to say, it may not have been on her radar, but it may not really have been on her radar. That doesn't mean that she never thought or doesn't think that you are brilliant and
Yep.
that she's proud of you.
Yep.
I probably would suggest I would suggest one of two things. have a conversation with her. You know, if you have that type of relationship where you can sit down and say, "Hey, Ma, I just need to unload. You know, I need to unload this." You know, and if you want to even mention, you know, this episode to kind of be a, kind of a catalyst to
Yeah.
explain it in context, I would have a conversation with her about it. You know, I come from a family where my mother has always encouraged us to, you know, speak up, so to speak. But one of the things that she's always also encouraged us to do is that if we don't feel like we can have an honest, unadulterated, uninterrupted conversation with the person that we need to unload painful feelings or misunderstood feelings, the best thing to do is to write her a letter. And, you know, I say that, and this works for us. Like I said, I mean, it works for our family. We've, you know, been able to, you know, like I said, communicate in that way. And again, I'm talking about conversations that are uninterrupted, you know, because oftentimes we may say difficult things to a loved one and they just feel the sting of the words. They're not gonna hear much beyond what that painful first proclamation, if you will, was. So I think, like I said, if you don't feel like you can sit down and have a conversation with her like that, you know, hopefully she's still with us physically, that you can do that. But again, if you don't feel like you can have a conversation where she's not going to interrupt you, write her a letter and, you know, and get it
Yeah.
out and get it off. I say that also because even with, like I said, with my children, right? My oldest, Haru, you're stinky, you're boo boo, all of that.
Mhm.
One of the things that he says to me is that, and this was again something that I had to work on in my communication with my now adult children, is that I'm always thinking of a rebuttal while he's communicating. And that's what tends to happen. So you'll say, "Hey, you hurt my feelings."
Yeah.
The receiver of that, as you're saying, you know, you hurt my feelings when, and you can't even get beyond when, because the other person's going to say, "What do you mean? And when did I hurt your feelings? And how is that?" You know, and then it becomes, you become distracted from the subject that you wanted to cover. So sometimes, like I said, I really agree with that, um you know, that process of trying to have that conversation. If you feel like it's a conversation that will not be, you won't be allowed to just get it out and then let the person respond, I would write her a letter. And
I
then when
think
she
that
gets that,
I'm sorry. I think that being a parent is a really tough job.
it
And I think
is.
every day it's almost like the game of life, you know, and every day you have to learn how to maneuver through so that you're successful. If you have a job, if you don't have a job, you're a stay home mom, you have to prepare meals for your children. It's a really big deal. And sometimes the level of communication may not necessarily be where you would like it to be or the level of understanding. And so every day is a new day to start over because it is a tough job being a parent. Tough, but rewarding. Tough, but rewarding.
One second.
My, yes, you're having technical difficulty, but I think you're okay now. My next, you're good.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you. You're fine.
Okay, I
I
can't
can
hear
see
you.
you
Give me one
also.
second.
Yes. So while Liz is trying to sort out her audio, last but not least, Carmen. Carmen said, my mom never told her, oh, I'm sorry, not my mom. Her mom never told her that men who gang banged, sold drugs, used drugs, and who just lived on the edge may not have been her best options for romantic endeavors, and that she's currently rewriting her story. Carmen, we appreciate you sharing that. We all have stories about situations that we wished perhaps we uh, situations that we learned from, right? Because every day is an experience.
Exactly.
So we all have situations that we learn something from, whether good or bad. It's a part of growing up, but you take that lesson and you move on. You don't get stuck
Exactly.
because a bad situation doesn't define you. So when someone thinks about Carmen, and they're telling a story, that one situation should not be the only time. Well, first of all, it shouldn't be anybody's business if you don't share it, okay? Uh,
Right.
However, that situation doesn't define you because I'm sure you're a fantastic, fabulous person who learned a lesson while growing up. So appreciate you sharing, Carmen. And I don't know where Carmen is from. She didn't list that either. So, oh no, that's not my last. This one is my last, and this is a statement from Amanda. Now, mind you, this topic of conversation was something that was selected weeks ago. It just didn't happen today. Um, However, we're dealing with something in this country that is, I think we're all kind of just speechless over. And so this topic rode in this afternoon. Amanda from Texas says she never thought in a million years she would see the Supreme Court overturn Roe versus Wade.
And I hate to say that's only the beginning. You
I
know,
don't really, I just, I'm speechless, and I can't add anything to it because
yeah.
this is
Well,
heavy. This is real heavy. I
it's
mean,
it's
this
very
is heavy.
heavy.
Yeah.
That I'd be happy to chime a little bit. I'm going to chime just a little lightly,
Chime
but I
lightly,
think
because I'm not
that,
even gonna open my mouth on it right now.
and no, I'm going to chime lightly. You know, we still are in America,
Yeah.
and we still have the opportunity. If we have the opportunity to conceal carry in New York now,
I saw
without going through some extra,
I
hoops and
saw
hurdles,
I
and I'm
saw
going to
that.
say that I feel. I think that at this point, and this is, not. I think that people need to understand the ramifications of this being overturned. It has a hell of a lot to do with, yes, reproductive choice, reproductive health of a woman that, for the most part, men are making the decision of. Okay, so that's the first thing. But not even so much that. If we are looking at Supreme Court victories, and this is one of them that they've overturned, what will be next? Interracial marriage?
I don't know.
I'm just saying, like, we ain't even going into voting rights, civil rights, because I think the argument, when, and again, like I said, I'm gonna chime this is how loud this chime gonna go. When we start looking at the reason, because basically the argument is that it's not part of the Constitution, so to speak, that it should not be a federal decision, it should be up to the states. So I'm gonna leave it right there on the floor.
Yep,
I can
just leave it
say
right there.
this. I
I'm
can
not.
say this. I can say this one last thing. People better pay attention. I love hearing people say, I don't watch the news and all stay there. But like I said, we all need to be mindful and keep up with what is happening and what is going on. Because oftentimes people, what is that term? Ignorance is bliss. And,
Mhm.
think it won't touch you. Just pay attention. Pay attention.
Family, we appreciate you guys taking
Right.
time out of your evening to hang out with Liz and I. Fantastic topic this evening. Things my mama didn't tell me. Appreciate all of those who sent their comments in about what their mothers didn't teach them. Each day we learn something new. I'm my sister's keeper, okay? And
Mhm.
that's what all of this is about. So, just wanted to also add before we leave this live that my second annual women's conference, I'm extremely excited. And I know, ladies, I know they're looking for me. They're looking for me for additional information, and I have it. I just have to send it. I've been crazy busy, but the Women's Empowerment Conference is July the 16th and July the 17th, starting at 12 in the afternoon. I
Okay.
have a panel of fantastic women from every walk of life who will share a story about how they overcame. And if they were able to overcome, you can do it too. I have been
Amen.
getting lots of information or statements, questions in lately about folks who are working these jobs, these dead end jobs. They've been on these jobs for years. There's really no growth, there's really no development, and I don't know, every year, every 2 years, they get new supervisors, and then it's like reinventing the wheel with the new soup. It's just a lot. I'm getting a lot of that, and we're going to have a conversation regarding that too, because change essentially starts with you. When you get
Amen.
sick and tired of being sick and tired, it's bad. And I had someone send me a email this morning, and I don't remember the person's name, so shame on me. But I've read through a lot of stuff today. I'm sorry. And she said that she's so fed up with her job until, as much as she needs a job, if they told her she was terminated, she wouldn't even be upset. Now that's deep.
Well, I'm gonna say this to her, and I'll probably hear a couple. Okay.
Yeah, you hot. You hot. Yeah, cool
I'm
off.
straight hot.
I know you are. You hot. We're all hot, but we
I
gotta.
am hot right
Yeah, I know.
now.
So
Hot like.
we're gonna discuss
But I
that
just
too.
say that I do want to leave this with that with anyone
Yep.
that finds themselves in a dead end situation, whatever
Mhm.
that dead end may be, right? Of course, prayer first, right? However,
Yes, ma'am.
another thing you need to do is tap into your motivation for being where you are. Where you are at this moment, and I'm preaching this not just to you, but to myself, is where God wants you to be right now. I remember in I want to say 2014, end of 2013, 2014, I gave my all to a situation till I was shaken up because, look, God is a jealous God. And when you are stuck in some situation that you've allowed yourself to become stuck in, it happens.
Because we
Get
become
his
we
way,
become comfortable in dysfunctional
and,
situations.
and that's not growth. There's no growth there.
Nope.
And so, what I say to
Somebody from the
you,
back said amen. Okay.
and,
Somebody from the
amen,
back said amen.
and what I say to you is tap into your motivation because, like I said, my world got shook up. However, a couple of months later, it opened. Actually, my world got shook up. A week later, my life changed. Okay. And then 8 months
Amen.
later, my life changed even more to where I am now. That I'm self employed. I'm self employed in an industry that I absolutely love. I'm self employed in an industry that pays for everything wherever I go for me to do what it is I love and
Yep.
what it is I'm great at. And that's, hospitality, sales, and marketing. It's also allowed me that intimate time to really fortify my relationship with God. It has allowed me to, like I said, even develop, my life as a health coach. And that's a lot of what is going to be, we're going to dig a little deeper into for the women's conference. But again, sis, and whoever, again, tap into your motivation for being there because you were there for a reason. Getting stuck and stagnant is not part of the plan. It happens, but it's because it's for you to give pause about what you want your life to look like. One thing I did learn from my mother: you're never too old to reinvent yourself. You definitely got to leap out on faith. My mother's going to be 88 in September, God willing. And that woman walks her dog twice a day. She doesn't have chronic diabetes. I talk about her all the time, drinking her noni juice every morning and whatnot, and taking care of herself. And she's one of my sheroes because she went back to college in her 40s.
Oh,
She
I didn't
learned
know
how
your
to
mother went back
ride
to college in
in
her
her
40s.
40s.
I didn't know
Yeah,
that. I didn't know
She
that.
was of the age where you got married, you stayed home, and you took care of your family. And I'm, my siblings are 9 and 11 years older than me. The ones that are older than me, and so
I didn't know your
you
mom.
know,
I didn't know your mom went back to college.
reinvented
I
herself.
remember that.
And even now, she FaceTimes us, she texts us, and so, like I said, tap into your motivation for being there. And in the immortal words of our wonderful host, Carla Daly, if you don't like it, what you gonna do?
If you don't
Peace.
like it, what you gonna do? If you don't
That's
like it,
it.
I know that. I mean,
What
it's
you gonna do?
scary. A lot of the correspondence I get, people have been on jobs 15, 16, 18, 20 years. They have, nice homes, nice apartments, luxury cars, maybe not a
And
lot of money
it's
saved, maybe not a lot of money saved, but they're just so fed up to they're like, you know what?
as hell.
And a lot of this is coming from folks that are older, over 50, over 45, and they're just like pieces
Look, I'm over
priceless.
50.
Yeah, a lot of folks are like a peace of mind is priceless. And to the woman who said when you reach 50, bullshit and nonsense, no, you don't have time for it.
Oh,
That's
that that
basically what they're
that was
saying.
in my 20s. I'm sorry, I got that one in my 20s.
Basically, that they're just saying like they're older now and they don't need
Ooh,
it. Like the
people,
games
let
and the
me do it.
nonsense. They don't need
It's
any of
about
it.
work-life balance. It's about quality of life,
Yeah.
and I'm gonna stop here. But I'm in an industry where we are struggling to hire people because when COVID hit, people left this industry. I'm in hospitality. Like I said, things are ramping up, however that looks. But I say that to say this: I cannot tell you the number of conversations that I have with clients in a variety of industries that they are having the same problem. People are not trying to be in positions where they are not fulfilled,
Yeah.
whether it's financially,
Yeah.
whether it's, spiritually,
Yeah.
developing you in terms of, when I say spiritually, I'm not talking about, spiritually, period, spiritually, in the office, in the workplace, wherever. If you are not being fortified and edified in what you are doing, you need to give pause and
Yeah.
figure out what it is that you should be doing for
Those
sure.
days,
That
those
motivation.
days, those days of being on the bus for 2 hours, leaving PA to go to New York to work, honey, them days is over. Those
Let
days
me
is
tell
over. Them days
When
is
I
over.
tell you, I have become so bougie in that respect. Like, even though with all the flight delays and stuff like that, whatever, if I'm on a train, I'm in business class. If I'm flying, I don't do first class on the plane, but trust me, I'm getting priority something.
Yeah,
I am at a point where I do not want to be in like these uncomfortable situations,
because
and I
you
don't
paid
feel
your
like I have
dues. Because you paid
to.
your dues. Yeah, you paid your dues. So just certain things. Once you paid your dues, like I shouldn't have to go back there. I shouldn't relive that. I
I
paid
don't
my
want.
dues.
Did I tell you about the story just real quick? I'm like I said, I'm in the DMV right now, so it's easy for me to get back and forth. And I took a I took a megabus home, right? So okay,
I've heard
megabus,
about them. I don't.
right.
I'm not really a bus
And
person.
then the next coming back, they're like, "Oh, the air is broken, blah blah blah." So needless to
Oh,
say, I was super daggone uncomfortable. I was like, "Oh my god." But again, I was like, I'm not doing that. I'm not getting on that bus anymore.
sweat.
I'm gonna take the train,
Yeah, sweat.
or
Absolutely not.
that's it. I'm not do, or I'm gonna drive. And if I drive, definitely if it's more than 2 hours and I'm alone, if I'm alone and it's more than 2 hours, I'm not driving. I'm not gonna do it. But I gotta be comfortable. I feel like that struggle ism right there. And I'm not, and please, people, don't get me wrong. If I'm catching a flight and it's delayed, that's another thing. I'm not one of those kind of people. No, that's not what I'm talking about. What I'm talking about is not having TSA pre-check and clear and priority boarding,
Yeah.
that kind of stuff. I need it to, and I
I
pat
hear
I
you.
girl,
I
yeah,
hear you. But you know what? And then we're gonna leave.
yeah, I'm hot
The
and I'm
Jerk
ranting on
Fest in
a lot of
Brooklyn.
stuff
The
right
Jerk
now.
Fest in Brooklyn is in July. I don't know what your schedule is. I'm not sure, but we need to be there. So I'm just gonna put it out there because I know you're busy
Well,
like a bumblebee.
I think I'll be back in the area. Definitely not the next 2 weeks. So 4th of July weekend, I'm going to probably be in where I'm at now. The
Yeah.
weekend after that, if that's the
Yeah.
weekend after that, then I'll be there. So
I think it's towards the end of July. But shout out to
okay,
the Jerk Fest organizers, because I'll be there. It's in Brooklyn,
oh
so we need
yeah,
to go. So I'll send you the information. But I just wanted to
please
put it
do.
out there because I know you move around like a bumblebee, so it's hard to catch up with you. But we need to be there. So pencil me
Yeah,
in your schedule, okay? Your itinerary. Listen,
really, really need some fun Brooklyn vibes. It's been a
yeah, we need some
minute,
fun Brooklyn vibes, exactly.
Brooklyn. It's been a
Because we
minute.
love Brooklyn, honey. We love Brooklyn.
Yeah,
Not to
of
get it twisted.
course.
We love Brooklyn. We love New York City. We love it, love it, love
Yes,
it.
yes.
But anyway, family, thank you so much for taking time out of your evening. We appreciate you. Love you.
Love you
Bye.
guys.
Bye, girl. We'll talk. Bye bye.